It's because Jesus welcomes doubters who are sincere and teachable. Jesus welcomes doubters who are sincere and who are teachable. One of the most remarkable things about Jesus is how he welcomed people who had questions and doubts as long as they were sincere and as long as they were honest about how they were approaching Jesus. He never sent them away. He never scolded them. He never embarrassed them. He never said, never come back. Your questions aren't allowed here or anything like that. He never did that. At the same time, we see over and over that Jesus didn't waste his time with what he considered dumb questions. Now, in today's day and age, we say, well, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And my wife is a school teacher, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit. We say today, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And Jesus says, yeah, there sort of is. And here's Jesus' definition of a dumb question. If your question is insincere, and you really have no interest in the real answer, and you are not leaving any room for the possibility that you might be wrong, that's a dumb question. And Jesus didn't waste his time on them. He simply didn't answer them. You can look it up. Over and over and over, the Pharisees, teachers of the law came and asked these questions, and he never answered them. In fact, he just went on and answered the question that he wanted answered. You ever ask a question like that, and somebody just answers whatever they want to answer? Well, Jesus did that all the time. He just answered the question that they should have been asking and just ignored the question that he considered dumb. Why was it dumb? Because the Pharisees' brand of questions were designed to justify what they already thought and to maintain control. And Jesus didn't answer those questions. He simply didn't answer those questions. But Thomas, even though Thomas challenged the issue of Christianity, the resurrection of Christ, and that is the issue, even though Thomas challenged that out loud, right there in front of everybody, said, tell him to come show me. I'm not going to believe till he shows me. Jesus says, okay, because Thomas was sincerely perplexed. Jesus was shattering everything that Thomas believed that was true about life. All his sincerely held beliefs were being confronted by Jesus' resurrection. Just like people today. You know, we've never seen that sort of thing. We've never seen that sort of miracle. We've never seen resurrection in our science and empirical world today. We say, well, that could never happen. Or maybe you have some sincerely held beliefs that are in another realm. You know, you don't believe in forgiveness or renewal or anybody could ever change or, whatever it is, you pick and choose. The things that Jesus confronts us with are dearly held beliefs that we hold dear. What are they? And Jesus comes and he confronts those. He wants to say, ask your questions, it's fine. And you may be sincerely perplexed. But Thomas, even though he's a skeptic, he really is, if he's going to be honest and if he's going to be sincere and teachable, he has to admit when he's wrong, doesn't he? Because he reaches out and he touches those hands and he touches that side. And if he was truly stubborn, and if he was truly just interested in being right and looking right and having his way and maintaining control, he would have said, it's a trick somehow. But he doesn't, does he? It was like scales fell from his eyes, and he just exclaimed almost involuntarily, my Lord and my God. You see, the answer to his doubts was Jesus himself, standing there offering his forgiveness, offering his renewal, a restart at life. And that is the very turning point for us. That is the turning point, isn't it? If we're willing to admit that we're wrong, Jesus says, ask your questions, get them out, whatever they are. Whatever they are, it's fine. Come to me with your questions. But I'm always going to ask you, are you willing to admit that you're wrong? Jesus is always going to ask us that. Are you willing to be wrong? There's a movie some years ago called Stepford Wives. I don't know if you've seen it. It's about a group of husbands in Stepford, Connecticut that decide to turn their wives into robots so that, get this, that their wives would do whatever they asked, whatever they wanted. Now, I can't imagine what the advantages of that would be. I can't think of any. I don't know if you guys can. Maybe we can think of some later. But would you sincerely, is that a relationship that anybody could sincerely say that they wanted to have? With no choice, with no intimacy, with no love. And sometimes I have to ask myself, if I am trying to serve a Stepford God, a God that means that I'm in control, a God that never disagrees with me, or is my God big enough to disagree with me? Am I big enough to let God disagree with me? To break out of the box that I put God in, the categories that I have for God, and say, this can't be true, and I can't do this, and I can't recognize this, or is God big enough to disagree with me? Is your God big enough? Sometimes I'm not getting answers because I'm using my questions as a cover for the real issues, right? Like the Pharisees, I want to maintain control. I don't want to be embarrassed around my friends, or, there's been a trauma in my life, and I can't accept the thing. So instead of telling God and being honest with him, say, I don't want to give up control, I say to God, I don't believe in miracles. Now, maybe I have a hard time with miracles, but we know that's not the issue. But the good news is this. This story is in the Bible because just like Thomas, if I'm willing to go to Christ and say, show me the evidence, Jesus says, okay, I will. I'll show you the evidence. It could come when we look at creation and see the signature of God everywhere, and that gets us on the road leading to a relationship with Christ. It could be that we look in the scriptures and we see that there's just too much testimony and evidence and it's too reliable for this not to be the Christ, and that leads us. It could be a changed life that we see, that we say only God could change that life, and so now I believe and I'm on my way to faith. But Jesus says, okay, I will show you the evidence if you ask and you seek with all your heart. I will show you. This morning, I want to share with you a real life testimony of somebody who had a similar road that God brought them through their questions and their doubts and turned those into faith. Dave Pash is going to come. He's right back there coming out. All right, come on out, Dave. Dave's a good friend of mine. Some of you know he actually is a voice for the Arizona Cardinals on the radio. But more importantly, he is a member of Chandler Christian Church and has an awesome story of faith. So come on out, Dave.